I have 6 inches of these 2.5-inch squares and 7 inches of these low volume 2.5-inch squares. I smell a scrappy quilt coming on. Would you like to join me? Hi, I'm Di with Sister Chicks Quilting, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. Let me start by telling you just a wee bit of an introduction. I was cleaning out a drawer, and it was a small drawer, and I pulled out a pile of 2.5-inch squares that I'd saved, and I pulled out another pile, and I thought, something needs to be done with those. And I pulled out another pile. They just kept coming. Then I had some scraps to process, so I cut some scraps, and I thought I'd love to make a postage stamp quilt, but postage stamp quilts are made with 1.5-inch blocks. I'm not ready to go there just yet. So this pile grew and grew and grew, and I'm going to stack it back up here because it's an inch shorter than the low volume pile. Now in that pile there was about this many white scraps, but they were different manufacturers, so they were different colors. That's a problem. Then I had about this many that were all low volume, and I thought, that is a problem. So I decided to cut some more of my low volume, and I am going to do a scrappy quilt that is low volume and all of these just very random colors. But I had one more problem I needed to overcome. I needed more of these, and I didn't want to cut any fabric. But look what I have. These are mini charm packs, 2.5-inch squares. What am I going to do with them? I know, I'm going to put one of them in this scrappy quilt. What I want in this quilt is color. That takes out this one and this one. This one fits the bill. There's 2 others that fit the bill. Look at this. They're The Good Life by Bonnie and Camille. I'll hang on to those. I think I'm going to do this one. It is Daycell by Bonnie and Camille. Putting all those aside, I'm going to break this open, and I'm just going to put this stack here. I have almost an even stack. So I am starting with 7 inches of low volume and 7 inches of colored fabrics. And you know what I'm going to do right now? Take them down so they don't fall. And I know you guys see the elephant in the room. I started making this block the other day. I love On Point, but I ran into some major issues. Let me tell you what happened. So I started doing rows like this, and I thought I am going to make big blocks and connect them. And when I connect them, I'm going to have a wonderful quilt. Here was my issue. I was using low volume. I would like to tell you about low volume because I'm using that term, and every time I use it, I get questions about it. It's an industry term, and it's one that the manufacturers use. In these low volume prints, they mostly read white or cream. They may have little designs in them like this or like this. There's little hedgehogs on that. The reason they use the term low volume is because they use a very low volume of ink rather than this one that is saturated. This is some nice saturated color, and this is low volume. That is how low volume got its name. Let's get started. I want to go over this block with you because it's going to be my inspiration for the quilts I'm making. Let me tell you what I did. I started sewing strips together like this because I really wanted an On Point quilt. I just think On Point quilts are, I don't know, kind of sexy. I love the look. Well, I ran into an issue because I have a low volume. Let me share that with you. I was going to make a second block just like this and lay them right sides together, stitch them right along this line here. If I were using the same fabric and all the same background, the same white, or even the same low volume print, nothing wrong with that plan. There would be a seam here that wouldn't even show when it was quilted. However, I'm using all of this low volume, so I have some issues to work out. I tried every which way I could to come up with a way to connect these. One of the ways I thought of was if, as I make the other block, I could pull the same low volumes and match them, but this one has stripes, and I don't think that would really work because a couple of them, there's only one of them. So that was a problem. I decided to do this with the block. I am going to make this block smaller. I'm going to take these off, these 3 rows off, these 3 rows off, these 3 rows off, and these 3 rows off, and I will have a square block. I could not make it on point using low volume, but I looked and looked and thought and drew, and I came up with another design. My quilt is still going to be super scrappy. The background fabric is still going to be low volume. However, it's not going to be on point. But I have some surprises for you. I'm going to make this, and I'm going to do it in an easy way that you can do in your sewing room. So why don't you come along with me and let's get sewing. After my mishap with the block, I came up with this. I did a bunch of cutting. I took everything off to where it was 6 by 6, and then I added one more row all the way around, fixing all the seams and putting it together. It's not on point. I'm just a little bit sad. This quilt's going to turn out adorable anyway. Nobody's going to know that it was meant. Nobody's going to know that I started out to do it on point. Here's what I did. I did some quilt math, kind of hurt my brain, but I figured it out. I did a lot of cutting and unpicking and figuring and writing notes down, and I actually have some numbers for you. I think you're going to like it. Let's talk about this block. There are 32 dark squares in each block and 32 low volume squares in each block. As you can see, I've gone every other block. It really makes the colored blocks shine. Say you want to make a quilt with 12 of these blocks. The first thing you're going to ask me is, how much fabric do I use? I don't know. I can't tell you in yards because this is too scrappy. But here's what I can tell you. This is a stack of 2.5-inch squares, and there's 32 in this stack. Now, if you squish it down, it's under an inch. But if you just kind of let it sit, about an inch of these little 2.5-inch squares is enough to make a block. Not bad. So if you have a stack of 12 2.5-inch blocks, that's your quilt. You can just kind of guesstimate by using the ruler. And if you have 1 or 2 more, who cares? There's always room for more scrappy quilts in our lives, right? So again, you need 32 coloreds and 32 low volumes. I hope that helps. And 32 is about 1 inch. What I'd like to do now is show you how I construct one of these blocks. Then we're going to put all of the blocks together and make a quilt. And I have a surprise for the border. I'm really excited about it. Let's get going. I have my stack of 32 2.5-inch squares, and I have a big pile here of low volume. Some of it is the same, so I'm really going to mix it up a little. Then I am just going to chain and have one big chaining party. Now, this is the fun part. If you don't have one of these, they're called blade savers. They're so great for chain piecing. And I'm just going to cut these, and then I'm going to start sewing them in groups of 4. 2 groups of 4 make a row of 8, and before you know it, you have got your 8 rows. There we go. Now, I'm not going to take time to press these, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to press the block when it's all done, just because that's how I'm doing it. I do want to talk about pressing while I'm cutting these, because I am working with a set block. It's a pre-cut, and it is 2.5 inches. So when I press, I'm going to press with a dry iron. I won't spray the block. Maybe I'll spray it when the entire block is sewn together, but I don't want to shrink these, and they will shrink. I have experienced it myself, and I've seen it so many times where you have a pre-cut and it is shrunk if you spray it. So I'm not going to use quilting spray, I'm not going to use best press, and I'm not going to use a steam iron. Instead, I'm going to dry press because I don't want any shrinkage. Let me show you what I am doing on this, because I am being a little picky here. I won't put 2 navy blues next to 2 navy blues. Rather, I'll pick another color. And it doesn't matter what color, just as long as it's not navy blue. So here's a red, and I'm going to put a yellow next to it. And that's it. That's pretty simple. I'm going to chain the rest of these together now. Hazel just came home from school, and I'm not allowed to show her in videos, but these are her little hands, and she loves to cut on my blade saver. So would you take those two and cut them, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Hazel. Now cut the next one. So I get to sew with my granddaughter. Good job, Hazel. You're doing a great job.
I can't believe I'm doing this on camera.
Oh, I know. I think you're doing a good job on camera, don't you?
Uh-huh. This is my first time.
It is your first time on camera, huh?
Uh-huh.
But again, her mommy doesn't want her to be on camera, which I respect, but I think her hands are going to be okay. So your face isn't on there, sweetheart. She keeps looking up. Just your hands are on there. Good job. Oh, I love sewing with you, Miss Hazel.
One fell off.
Yep, we have more to do. Okay, let's get them all. Isn't it fun sewing with a almost 5-year-old? Are you almost 5?
Yep.
Tell everybody what the name of your preschool is that you go to.
Smart Start Academy.
That's right, you've got one more to do here. And then you're done. Thank you so much, Hazel. The next thing we do is lay them out.
Okay.
Every other one into rows. Oh, we don't want those two together. They're the same piece. That looks good.
This looks good.
We have to turn it though, because we started with a low volume, so we want to put one of these in. Here, let's try this one.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Yeah, does that look good? Does it match good? Now we can, not really? Now we can probably put this one in. You know what I think? I think well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what? I made more than I needed. Okay, and let's put this one in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and number 8. Okay, there is our block. Now, Grandma's going to sew this up, okay?
I like
all right.
it.
I'm glad you like it. Let's sew it up. Now that I have all the strips of 8 lined up the way I want them in the block, I'm going to sew them together. I went a little overboard, and I have 7 strips, but I'm going to use these because this is going to have a scrappy border. What I'm going to do is nest these as I go, just like that, and I'm going to nest them right on the machine. You can feel that those seams interlock. So as I go down, I'm going to do this on every row. It's really quite satisfying to not use any pins and to nest as you go. However, if you feel like you want to take the time to pin these, you can do that. But let me tell you a secret. Mine aren't perfect. There's a few spaces where I have goofed up on my nesting, and truthfully, there's a few spaces on these where I have a little tuck. Oh, and I just got a kiss on the arm from Miss Hazel. She's going to be with me, I guess. This is how it looks. I'm not going to press it until the whole block is done. This goes next. I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to check to see on the back. So this seam goes up, so this one will go down. I'm going to do the same thing I did on this, and these blocks actually sew up pretty fast. Let's go press it. Here we are at the ironing table. I'm going to show you a way I figured out to press this. I'm going to start from the back. And the first thing I'm going to do is run the iron in the direction that these are sewn all the way down, like so. My iron's good and hot, and again, I'm not using any steam or quilting spray. The next thing I want to do is go up. And as I gently push everything out of the way, as you notice, one side goes one way and the other side goes the other way. Let me pull it down a little. There you go. And I do that, I'm going to turn it so it'll be easier so I can show it to you. But as I go up, I point my iron right to this side and press really, really hard. Oh, this one I didn't get. Let's fix that. So this is my trickster ironing method. And we'll get this side completely done, then we'll give the other side a really good press. The more you press your quilts as you go, the better a quilting product you will have. As a long arm quilter, I see an awful lot of quilts come in, and some people don't press them as good as others. The ones that are pressed very well always are the ones that look better in the end. Now, I'm pressing on a wool pressing mat. They are wonderful because they pick up, it's like it irons it from both sides. The wool mat gets hot and it pushes that heat up into the back side of this. And there I am. Isn't that looking good? So I did all this. Look how nice and flat it is. And I haven't used any water because I don't want these little 2.5 inch blocks to shrink. Some of them will, some of them won't. Some were starched, a lot of them weren't. I think it's time to go to the design wall so I can show you what I've got going next. So excited! This blank wall is going to be gorgeous in just a minute. Now this is my first block. My second block. So this is the block that I just finished. All right. trying to think how I was going to do this. I think what I'm doing is going 3 across and 4 down. Let's just flip that to a pink one there. Now, I have 3 more blocks to put up, but it's on the bottom and you're not going to see it how I have my camera set up. I'll give you a faraway shot when I get it all done. This is what I plan on doing for the border. Look at this. I have a strip of low volume. So the first thing that's going to happen is all the way around, I'm going to put low volume. And you don't really see it that much, do you? However, you know why I wasn't upset over making the extra 8 strips? Because I need them for the border. Look at this. This is going to be the outside border, okay? And I'm actually thinking of putting another low volume border around on the ends. But I don't know, probably not. No, I'm not going to do that. This is what I'm going to do all the way around the quilt. It's going to be the quilt, then a low volume border, then a scrappy border. You know, I could come up with more low volume, and like I say, I think it's hard to see, but I actually think it floats this one nicely. I'm going to have to think about it, but I think that's what I'm going to do. In looking at my pile of low volume, I'm going to have to cut some more low volume 2.5-inch strips. That's okay. I'm sure I can find it somewhere. I have quite a bit. I really like it, I think, with the low volume on the end. Then I will not do a scrappy binding, but I'm going to do a solid binding and just kind of anchor that all. Let's see, just for grins. What do you think of that? Now that's black. I just picked it up out of my 2.5-inch strip bin. I think maybe a lighter binding all the way around, and it really shows off that low volume and then the scrappy border. I think it's going to make this quilt. I'm excited. I better get to sewing some strips together, and then I also have to sew the quilt top together. Off to the machine I go. I have it all put together. It wasn't that hard to sew. In fact, I really enjoyed sewing, and I nested every seam. Now, I want to share something with you because I'm not happy with it, and that is this block and this block and this block in the border. I want them to be more prominent. When I took a black and white picture, and let me insert that picture right here so you can see the picture. They just don't show up like the rest of the boulder blocks do. So I am going to identify those blocks and replace them. It's not going to take that much time because I don't have this on yet. Yes, I'm going to put one more border around this quilt, and it's going to be a low volume border. I've gone through and marked the blocks that I'm going to change with pins, and then I'm just going to put some darker blocks in them. So I don't know if you want to see me unpick or not. Probably should get out my electric seam ripper. I have my final stack of low volume pieces here. I actually have rated my 2.5-inch strip. I rated some other scraps I had. So I'm hoping this is going to be enough because I would like these flavors of low volume evenly distributed. What I'm going to do is stitch them together in 2s, and then I'll put the 2s together in 4s, 4s in 8s, so forth and so on. Goes together faster than you think it does. April story. Who just doesn't have the patience to do little squares. I like to tease her, but they go pretty darn fast. I have all of my strips sewn together. Notice they're not pressed. I'm not going to press them till the end. So let me show you how I put this together because it's real technical. I didn't even measure or count my strips. I'm just going to lay them next to the piece, next to the quilt, and I'm going to match them, making sure I get them all done. Oh my gosh. Do you guys see what I did? Yeah, I'm messing up. Let me unpick this and re-sew it. And then I'll have to probably start over at the first. Good night. All right. Okay, like this. Okay, get it lined up. Okay. Let's start over with this. I have the 2 sides sewn on already. As I go, I nest the seams. Okay. So I've come to the end. I need to take this off right here. So let me show you how I do this. I start by looking at the back and seeing which way all these seams are going. Looks like this is kind of messy. Oh, you know why it's messy? Because I replaced this one. So I'm going to fold this seam down. That means this one goes up on top. Let's put right sides together and start sewing. This is the very last seam on this side that I'll sew. So I'm gonna back stitch it to hold it in. This one was going up, so this one is going to be a little bit funky. Usually I get my rows so they're all going the same way, but not this one. What matters is that they nest because you know you have a matching seam. Here it is. Ta-da! What a fun ta-da this is for me. You know, this quilt, I'm in love with it. It is so scrappy. It is very imperfect. There's a lot of flaws in it. I'm not going to point those out though. I'm just going to enjoy it. In fact, I may try and quilt some of the flaws out. But anyway, it is done. And I think it turned out great. It ended up being 60 inches wide and 76 inches down. That is a great size for a quilt. I can enjoy a quilt that size, though I like them longer because I'm quite tall. I've given you enough information that you're going to be able to make something like this for yourself. You know, now remember, this is not a postage stamp quilt. Those start out with 1.5-inch blocks and they finish at 1 inch. This finished at 2 inches, so it went together a lot faster than a postage stamp quilt. Now, I do want to explain something. I've heard from a lot of you. I've received several emails wondering where I've been. I apologize. The engineer and I were in a car crash at the 1st of November, and we took the brunt of it. It was not pretty, and it was kind of scary. But you know what? It's over. We've replaced our car. We've healed. We're doing so much better. So thank you for your concern. I'm back, and you get to have videos from me. I can't wait, because I have got a December lineup that is going to be a blast. A couple of them I've already started filming, so look forward to that. Now, I want to talk about this video, the fat quarter basket made from 4 fat quarters. It went crazy. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you who watched it. I also have the pattern as a free download on my website. I want you guys to know that over 3,000 of you have downloaded this pattern. Wow, that's exciting. And a couple of you have asked how you could compensate me. Well, it's my gift to you for watching my channel, so I appreciate it. However, in the description box for each video, I do have the Buy Me a Cup of Herb Tea app. If you would like to do that, that would be fine. And I want to thank Ellen Palms and Ann Murphy, who bought me cups of herb tea to support my channel. Thank you so much, Ellen and Ann. I really appreciate it. My retreat has got 3 spaces left. If you want one of those spaces, you know how to get it. You go to my website and you can purchase it there. It's only $600 for 4 days. All the food, it's inclusive. You're going to love it. It's so much fun. And I would love to quilt with you and sew with you. I'm also going to be teaching a class, and the swag bag is really phenomenal. I think you'll love it. I better run so I can get going on my Christmas videos. But until one of them pops up, and I'm not going to say see you next week, because who knows? I may surprise you. It's the season to be quilting. We'll see you soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.